Good morning, everyone. We would like to wait a few more minutes to allow all registered participants to join us. Thank you for your patience. So, okay, let's start the webinar. So, good morning, everyone. We hope you are all well and safe. We are glad to welcome you this morning to this webinar regarding the IPA4SME service implementation for beneficiaries of the sixth cutoff. My name is Rassami Couturier, and I am project manager at Gopacom, a communications agency in Brussels that is partner in the IPA4SME consortium. Today, our presenter will be Marco Graziado from CASA, the IPA4SME consortium leader. Throughout today, our throughout the webinar, you can write questions in the GoToWebinar question box, which is located on the right side. The questions will be addressed at the end of the presentation, so please feel free to use this question box. Regarding any specific questions, these will be followed up individually by email by the IPA4SME Coordination Center. I wish you a nice webinar, and Marco, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Rasami, and good morning to everybody, and welcome on board of this incredible project called the IPA4SME. And as Rasami said, I am Marco Azzedio, an innovation consultant working for CARSA, who is the leader of this program. And it's a pleasure to be today here with you in order to explain to all the beneficiaries of this project how to proceed in order to benefit the most from the support services that we provided within this program in an easy and efficient way. For today's presentation, today's workshop, I will use the guide for beneficiary that all the beneficiaries should possess. And later on, I will present you through a PowerPoint presentation the frequently asked question that we received during the first year of the program. And then, as Rasami explained at the beginning, I will take care of all the questions that I received. So, before starting to explain you how to benefit from the support services, let's explain which is the idea of this program. So, the European Commission strongly believes that the protection of the intellectual property is a key element, let's say, that is crucial for all the SME for promoting innovation and improving the competitiveness. So for these reasons, the main goal of this program is to facilitate and promote the use of intellectual property. And to do it, basically, we offer financial and expert support in order to valorize and protect your intellectual property. Can benefit of these support services all SME which have received a seal of excellence from the program of SME program. So we can start with the presentation of the guide. So before starting to explain you in detail how to activate the different service, please keep in mind that it's really important that all the beneficiaries understand that in case you have been awarded to receive more than one service, beneficiary is not forced to follow any particular flow, which means that especially for the SME who received the support service 1, also called the EP Pre-diagnostic, but in parallel they received also service 2 and or service 3, is not mandatory to complete service 1 before benefit from the other two services. It's really recommended to all the beneficiary to complete service 1 before service 2 and service 3 because the scope of service 1 is really important. My suggestion is that it's really important for all the beneficiary to complete service 1 before benefit from service 2 or service 3, because the scope of service 1 is to provide you any possible suggestion which will facilitate the filling of your patent registration before EPO. So again, it's not mandatory to complete one service before to benefit from the others. So you can decide to complete one by one, but also to start both services in parallel. So the use of EMS, so keep in mind that all the support services will be managed through the IPA4SME electronic submission system. Beneficiary can access by logging into EMS, and by visiting my project, you can find all the information related to the support services that you have awarded. But also in this space, you will find let's say a specific space in order to upload all the documentation that we need to collect in order to activate service 2 and service 3. So as you can see, there is beneficiary have to click on go to support documentation, and here you will find the next screen that will show you two sections. One is called supported documentation, that, as I said before, is a place that has been specifically designed for beneficiary to upload all the required documents to activate the service. But also you can find a second space called reimbursement, that is a place designed for beneficiary to provide the necessary financial information that we need to collect in order to issue the reimbursement in case we validate your documentation. So please keep in mind that during the entire process, beneficiary will ask to complete a series of surveys as a part of their award. As you can see in page number 8, in the following table, there is a summary of all the survey that the beneficiary has to complete with a time frame. As you can see, the competition of the survey depends on the service that you have been awarded. But in case you are beneficiary of service 1, 2, or 3, the first step is to complete this survey, also called the IPA4SME self-assessment, that is mandatory to complete before starting any of the service award. So please keep in mind that if we don't collect this survey, any of the services awarded cannot start. So please try to complete it as soon as possible. When you are selected as beneficiary, you received email from the coordination center in which we communicated you the services awarded. In this email should appear a link that you can use to complete this self-assessment. In case you cannot find this link, please contact us in order that we can answer you, providing you the link to complete this survey. So we can go to explain you now how to benefit from the different services. We start with service 1, also called the EP Pre-diagnostic service. So, as you already know, within IPA4SME program, we basically offer 3 services. One is called EP Pre-diagnostic service, which is focused on providing advices to boost the SME intellectual properties, capabilities, and competencies. These services is totally free of charge. So, and then together with this service, we offer 2 co-financing services in which basically we are going to offer you partial reimbursement of the cost associated with the intellectual property registration process. So, as you can see in this slide, the workflow of service 1 consists of 5 main steps. The first step of all the services is the completion of the IPA4SME self-assessment, because, as I said before, without completing this service, this survey, you cannot start to benefit from the service. So after completing the IPA4SME self-assessment, the coordination center will facilitate the initial contact between beneficiary and expert. So this process will differ, let's say, depending on the beneficiary count. So as regard to the designation of the EP Pre-diagnostic expert, in case the SMA is located in a country such as Austria, Denmark, France, Germany, Netherlands, and Spain, the expert will be directly assigned to you by the national IP office. Sorry for the interruption, but it seems that I have some problem with the audio. I hope now is working better. So I'm so sorry if I was facing some problem with the audio. I will start with explanation of service one. So service one is a service in which basically we offer pre-diagnostic support with the aim of providing you advices in order to boost your capabilities and competencies in terms of intellectual property. This service, please keep in mind that is totally free of charge. So any costs are associated to the coordination center of this program. So as you can see in this slide, the workflow of service one consists of 5 main steps. The first step is the completion of the IPA4SME self-assessment that, as I said before, without completing this service, you cannot start to benefit from the support action. So after completing this survey, the coordination center will facilitate the initial contact between beneficiary and expert. So this process, so the process of design a EP pre-diagnostic expert will differ slightly depending on the beneficiary country of registration. So if you are a SMA located in a country such as Austria, Denmark, France, Germany, Netherlands, Spain, the expert will be assigned directly by your nationally IP office. Instead, if you are an SMA located in a country like such as Greece, Italy, Ireland, Latvia, and Sweden, in the past we offered to the SME a list of qualified experts that every SME have to select one of the person included in this list, but due to the problems caused by the outbreak of the virus, we decided to directly provide the name of an expert that you have to. So basically, we offer directly an expert. So please keep in mind that all the SME located in countries like Greece, Italy, Ireland, Latvia, and Sweden, we are not going to receive the list of qualified experts, but you will receive directly a name. All the SME located in this country already received the mail with the expert assigned. So once you received information about the expert assigned to you by the coordination center or by the national IP office, you can start to contact and schedule a possible meeting with the expert. So as you can see, point number 4. So the EP pre-diagnostic service, once you schedule a possible meeting, the EP pre-diagnostic service will consist of the following main steps. So there is a first analysis of your ecosystem in which your company is involved with. So through the IPA4SME self-assessment, the expert will study the key aspects of your company regarding terms such as markets, competitors, products, and service from the intellectual property perspective. Then there is an interview between the expert and the beneficiary. This interview we should last between 2 and 4 hours, and the scope of this interview is to collect more information about your business strategy, business model, and your idea regarding the intellectual property. Then there is a third step in which the expert is going to develop a EP pre-diagnostic report containing the main competencies, suggestion, and areas of development of your SME. So, as regards to the interview, at the beginning of the project, the interview was usually conducted.
Marco, sorry to interrupt. Hasami speaking. I'm really sorry, but now we have like really sound issues because we cannot hear you well. So if you could just please recheck your microphone.
Rasami,
Yes,
how is going now?
now it's good. Thank you very much, and sorry for interrupting.
Yeah. Morning with the microphone. So I will repeat again this part. So the EP pre-diagnostic service consists of three main steps. There is an initial analysis of your environment in terms of intellectual properties that the expert is conducting throughout the use of the IPA4SME self-assessment. Then there is the interview that the expert is conducting with you as a beneficiary, and usually the interview take between 2 and 4 hours. At the beginning of the program, usually this interview was conducted by face-to-face, but then due to the problems related to the outbreak of the virus, in most of the cases, both expert and beneficiary preferred to conduct the interview virtually. And please keep in mind that during the previous cutoff, the majority of the SME have scheduled an interview using program like Skype or similar program. And at the end of this interview, all the beneficiaries were really satisfied about the services provided by the expert. So even if you are forced to receive the service virtually, don't be worried, because at the end the results are quite the same of conducting an interview face to face. Then after this interview, the expert is going to deliver you a confidential report in which basically you are going to receive all the suggestions in order to boost your business model, business strategy, and competencies, always related to your intellectual properties. As I said before, the interview can take a time between 2 and 4 hours. So please consider that before to schedule a possible meeting, please keep in mind that the interview can take also 4 hours. So remember this. So once you are going to receive the results of the EP pre-diagnostic service, we can say that basically the service is complete. Please keep in mind that there is a specific time frame to complete service 1. As you can see, the EP pre-diagnostic service should be completed within 4 months of the date of the communication of the support service award. That for all the beneficiaries of cutoff 6 was the 8th October 2020, which means that you will have until the 8th of February 2021 to complete service 1. So this is all about service 1. We can move to the 2 co-financing service. So the first service called the partial reimbursement of European Patent Office, but also recognized easily as service 2, is a service in which we are going to provide you with economic support to cover costs related to an European Patent Office registration. As you can see, also in this case, the time frame, the work plan of service 2 consists of 5 main steps. As always, the first step is to complete the IPA4SME self-assessment, but then I personally consider the activation of the service the most important step. So please consider that being awarded with service does not mean that the service is active. To active the service, beneficiary must provide within 4 months of the date of the communication of award valid documentation, and you have to provide this documentation through the EMS portal. Valid documentation consists of an invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment. So valid documentation consists of an invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment, which must meet specific requirements that we'll be discussing soon. So as you can see in this graphic, there is a specific time frame established within IPA4SME program. So as you can see, all the beneficiaries of cutoff 6 received a communication, an email of communication regarding the services awarded the last 8th of October. From this day, all the beneficiaries will have 4 months to activate one of the services awarded. To activate the service, as I said before, we need to collect from you an invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment. Both documentation must meet specific requirements that we are going to discuss soon. Once we receive this documentation, and only once we validate this documentation, the service can be considered active. Once the service is active, you will have until the final, until the end of 2021 to provide us documentation for a second, to claim a second payment request. So again, I will repeat this process. All the beneficiaries of cutoff 6 received a communication of the awarded services the last 8th of October, which means that from this date you will have 4 months to provide us documentation in order to activate one of the 2 co-financing services, which means that you will have until the 8th of February 2021 to activate the service. To activate the service, we must collect from you an invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment. Once the service is activated, you will have until the end of 2021 to provide us documentation to claim a second payment request. However, please keep in mind, as you can see here, that in the event that a beneficiary has been awarded with both service 2 and service 3 from the same cutoff, the activation of either of the support service will automatically extend the time for the activation of the other service by an additional 4 months. So as you can see in this time frame, in the event that you have been awarded with both Service 2 and Service 3, in case you are going to activate Service 2 in time, you will have automatically, additionally, 4 months to activate the missing Service 3, which means that you will have until the 8th of June 2021 to activate Service 3. And as I said different times, activate service means to provide us valid documentation, an invoice with the corresponding proof of payment. In case you are not able to provide us documentation in time, the support service will be automatically cancelled. Please keep in mind that if the support service is cancelled, does not mean that you cannot reapply again during the next cutoff call. So let's go to explain you how to activate the service, what does mean valid documentation. So again, valid documentation means invoice together with a corresponding proof of payment, both documents which must meet specific requirements. So as regard to the invoice, there are two possible situations. The first situation is that the EPO patent registration is made by an IP patent attorney on behalf of the beneficiary company. In this case, to consider valid the invoice must be issued after the date of the communication of award, that for all the beneficiary of cutoff 6 is the 8th of October. But then the invoice must include the following information. First of all, we need to collect from the invoice the name of the patent attorney who provide you the support service. Then we need the invoice must include the patent application process. Namely, the invoice must reference the title of the invention or the IP number being protected. And together with this information, the invoice must include information as regard to the EPO debit order number covered during the registration process. Please keep in mind that it is really important that all beneficiaries understand that within IPA4SME program are considered eligible of reimbursement only the following EPO service codes, the ones included in table 2. So we cover only the costs related to EPO code 01, 02, 05, 6, 7, and 33. So again, I will explain you again what the invoice must include in order to be validated. In case the EPO patent registration is made by an IP patent attorney on behalf of the beneficiary company, the beneficiary can only be reimbursed once they provide us a invoice, which first of all must be issued after the date of the communication of IPA4SME support. But then the invoice must include information regarding the name of the patent attorney who provides you the service, the title of the invention or the IP number being protected, but also we need to collect information about the EPO debit codes covered during the registration, because again, within this program, we are not going to cover all the costs related to all the EPO service costs, but we are going to reimburse only the costs related to the following EPO, which are again we are going to reimburse the filling fee costs, fee for a European search, designation fee, examination fee, but we are also going to cover fee for grant and printing and fee regarding renewal of the third year. So, since in most of the cases beneficiary are asking the support from patent attorney located to your home country, and can happen that the invoice that they are providing you is in national language, like for example invoices in Italian, in Bulgarian or Spanish. In order to facilitate the reimbursement process, we kindly ask you to provide, to include in the invoice the following model statement that is in English, and is going to contain the most important information that we must collect in order to validate the documentation. So it's not mandatory to ask to your patent attorney to provide you an invoice in English. The only things that you can do to facilitate the validation process is to provide us the invoice in national language, including the following model statement in English. Then there is a second possible case when beneficiary decide to register their patent directly by themselves without asking the support service from an IP patent attorney. In this case, beneficiary can only be reimbursed once they provide us the PDF document of the debit order submission confirmation that you are going to receive from EPO once you start the filling process. So in this case, to be validated, the debit order submission confirmation must include information about the patent application process, namely the title of the invention or the IP being protected, but then this documentation must contain information regarding the EPO service code covered during the registration. Also, in this case, the only EPO service code that we are going to reimburse are those included in table 2. So, I would like to point out that can happen that more than one that you can provide us more than one invoice. So during the validation process, you can provide us more than one invoice. For us, it's not a problem, but all the invoice that you are going to provide us must be associated to the same IP patent. So during the validation process, I will repeat this different time during this webinar. You can provide us more than one invoice, but to be validated, the invoice must be always associated to the same IP patent, which means that the invoice must be associated to the same invention. So together with the proof of payment, we must collect also the corresponding proof of payment. Please keep in mind that we are going to validate as proof of payment only bank transfer receipt, which clearly indicate the name of the beneficiary, the IP patent attorney, and the invoice number. Only these bank transfer receipt containing this information will be accepted. So again, together with the proof of the invoice, we must collect from you the corresponding proof of payment. We are going to accept only bank transfer receipt containing information indicating the name of the beneficiary, the IP patent attorney who provides you the service, and the invoice number. So you can provide us this documentation separately, but we can also provide us this documentation including all the documentation in a single PDF or zip file. I personally recommend you to provide us documentation all together directly uploading on EMS a single PDF or zip file. So once we have received your documentation and only once we have marked your documentation provided as valid, only in this case you can consider the service to activate. Again, as I said at the beginning of this process, once the service 2 is activated, beneficiary will have until the end of the project, which means the 31 December 2021, to provide us new invoice to claim a second payment request. As you can see, service 2 reimbursement is limited to 2 requests. So beneficiary may submit as many invoice and proof of payment or debit order confirmation as they have available for each request. Please keep in mind that, again, as I said before, the invoices that you are going to provide us must be associated to the same patent invention. Otherwise, we are forced to disqualify you. So it's really important to activate the service, because once you activate the service, you will have until the end of 2021 to provide us as many invoices that you have to claim a second payment request. Please keep in mind that for each service 2 awarded, we are going to cover the 75% of the cost included in the invoice, up to a maximum of euro 2,500 for each patent application. So the last step of service 2, once it's activated, is the confirmation of the reimbursement. So how the process works: once we collect your documentation and once we validated your documentation, as soon as possible we are going to reimburse you. Once you receive the reimbursement, you have just to provide us acknowledge of reception in order to confirm that you received the reimbursement. It's also important that in any case, when we are going to validate it or not your documentation, usually all the beneficiaries are going to receive an email from the coordination center in which we are basically going to inform you if the service is activated or not. In case the service is activated, please keep in mind that as soon as possible you have to provide us, always by the EMS portal, your financial information, because we need to collect this information in order to reimburse you. So we can move to service 3. So the second co-financing service called partial reimbursement of IP attorney fee, also renamed easily as service 3, is a service in which basically we are going to offer you financial contribution in order to cover the cost associated to hire an IP patent attorney in charge of providing you, let's say, legal advice or support for the purpose of either preparing the filing for a European patent, but we are going to cover also the cost in case you decide together with your together with the patent attorney to discontinue an initial idea of patent application. This is really important, so I'm going to repeat again, but within Service 3, we are going to cover not only the costs related to hire an IP patent attorney in charge of providing you legal service for the purpose of filing the patent application before EPO, but we are going also to cover the cost in case you decide to discontinue an initial idea of patent application. So as you can see, also in this case, Service 3, the workflow consists of 5 main steps. First step is the completion of the IPA4SME self-assessment, and then similarly to Service 2, the second step, that is the most important for me, is the activation of the service. Also in this case, please keep in mind that being awarded of Service 3 doesn't mean that Service 3 is activated. To activate Service 3, also in this case, we must collect from you with an invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment. So I will repeat how works the Service 3 frame. Is similar to Service 2, but I think it's important to repeat again, especially for from Service 3, only for Service 3. So again, all the beneficiaries that participated in cutoff call 6, they received the last 8th of October a communication email in which basically you received information about the services awarded. So from this date, from the 8th of October, you will have 4 months to activate Service 3, which means that you will have until the 8th of February to provide us documentation to activate Service 3. Once you activate Service 3, you will have until the end of the program, which means the 31 December 2021, to provide us documentation for claim a second payment request. Also in this case, please keep in mind that the documentation that you are going to provide us for the second payment request must always be associated to the same patent invention for which you received the first payment reimbursement. Anyway, in case you benefit from both Service 2 and Service 3 during the same cutoff call, once you activated Service 3, you will have automatically additional 4 months to activate the missing service. That is, in this case, is Service 2. So let's say that I am the Gazzadio company who participate in this cutoff call 6. So I was lucky because the coordination center selected me in this program. So the last 8th of October, I received a communication of the communication email in which basically the coordination center informed me that I've been awarded with both Service 2 and Service 3. So once I receive this email, I will have 4 months to activate one of the 2 services. Can happen in a lot of cases that maybe I will be able to activate Service 3, for example, rather than Service 2. But since I have been awarded with both services, once I activated Service 3 before the 8th of February, I will have additionally 4 months to provide to the coordination center documentation in order to activate the missing service that in this case, in my case, is service. Again, please keep in mind that in case you are not able to provide fast documentation in time, we will directly disqualify you. Disqualify you doesn't mean that you cannot apply it again in the future cutoff call. Please keep in mind that we plan to have other 3 cutoff calls. The last one will be the terms to provide us documentation to apply for the last cutoff call will be the 31 of May. So please keep in mind that during these months, we plan to have other additional 3 cutoff calls. So how to activate service 3? To activate service 3, also in this case, we need to collect an invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment. So, beneficiary can only be reimbursed once they provide us 1 or more valid invoice, and the invoice to be validated must contain the following information. First of all, the invoice must contain the name of the patent attorney who provide you the legal service. It's really important that as regard to the patent attorney must be a person entitled to act before the IPO. So, to be considered valid service 3 reimbursement, the invoice must be issued by an IP patent attorney who appears on the IPO list of professionally representative. In the guide at the end of page 19, you will find this link in order to check if the patent attorney who provides you the services is entitled to act before the IPO. However, please keep in mind that usually the majority of the attorney company always there is 1 person entitled to act before the IPO. So in case the patent attorney who is going to provide you the service is not a person who appears in the IPO list of professional representative, in this case, what you can do is to ask to the patent attorney to provide you an invoice which contains the name of 1 person working for the same attorney company who is a patent attorney entitled to act before the IPO. But again, in order to be eligible, the invoice must be issued by an IP patent attorney who appears on the IPO list of professional representatives. Then, to be eligible, the invoice must be issued after the date of the communication of IPA4SME support, which means that if you are going to receive an invoice issued in the 2018, unfortunately, is not validated. It cannot be validated. Similarly, if we are going to receive an invoice that was issued the last July, for example, 2020, unfortunately, within cutoff call 6, we cannot validate this invoice. Again, this is the most important information that you have to understand. The only invoice that we can validate must be issued after the date of the communication of award. So we can accept only the invoices dated after the 8th of October 2020. The reason regarding this requirement is because, as I tried to explain you at the beginning of this webinar, the scope of this program is to promote new patent registration. This is the reason why we can accept all invoice dated issued after the date of the communication of IPA4SME support. Then, to validate the invoice must also contain information, including information about the title of the invention or the IP being protected. And then the invoice must include information about the EPO patent application number, or in case you decide to discontinue the registration process, the invoice must include a statement regarding your decision to discontinue patent application process. Again, please keep in mind that we are going to cover the costs for hiring an IP patent attorney, even if you decide to discontinue the patent application process. So, together with the invoice, also in this case, we must be collected from you also the corresponding proof of payment, and also in this case, the only proof of payment that we can accept are bank transfer receipts, which clearly indicate the name of the beneficiary, the IP patent attorney, and the invoice number. Only in this case, if the proof of payment is including all this information, we can accept the proof of payment. Once you provide us these two types of documentation, and once we validate the documentation, only in this case, service 3 is activated. Once the service 3 is activated, again, you will have until the end of 2021 to claim for a second payment request. So please keep in mind that both service 2 and service 3 reimbursement are limited to 2 requests. Therefore, beneficiaries should be aware that once they have made a second request for reimbursement, they will not be able to make additional requests, even if they have not reached the maximum reimbursement amount. For service 3, we cover the 50% of the cost included in the invoice, up to a maximum of euro 2,000 for each patent application. Once we validated the documentation, we are going to receive as soon as possible the reimbursement. Once you receive the reimbursement, we will kindly ask you to provide us always through EMS the acknowledge of reception. So before to move to the frequently asked question, I would like to explain you the final important rules for payment request. So please keep in mind that every application will be for a unique European patent. So in other words, when IPA4SME Coordination Center select an application, this is just for one single patent, European patent. So again, documents provided by the beneficiary to claim a partial reimbursement must only refer to and contain information about one single patent. So if you are going to provide us documentation containing information about several patents, this is not allowed, and in this case we are going to disqualify the whole payment request. Again, for each IPA4SME application, we can collect only invoice containing information associated to the same patent. In case, as a company, you have several patent application processing pipeline, what you have to do to receive several reimbursement is to apply as many times as the application process for which you are interested to receive the reimbursement. You can do this during the same cutoff date or in future cutoff. So again, for example, if I am the company Calzadillo interested to benefit within the IPA4SME program, in case I would like to receive financial support for 3 different patents, what I have to do is to apply 3 different times, and I can do this during the same cutoff call or in different cutoff call. So again, if I would like to receive support, financial support regarding 3 different patents, the only things I can do is to apply 3 different times during the same cutoff or in future ones. Once I applied 3 different times and only once I received 3 different communication of award, only in this case I can provide to the coordination center through EMS portal documentation containing information regarding 3 different patents. But if I receive only 1 communication of award, in this case I can provide only documentation regarding 1 single patent. Otherwise, I will be disqualified. So I think we can move to the presentation. Just give me a time to move to the presentation. Rasami, everybody, can you hear me very well? I hope. Please confirm me.
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Again, sorry for the problem we have during the webinar. In case you face problem in hearing me, please keep in mind that at the end of the webinar, Rasami is going to send you an email containing information regarding the link to link regarding the record of this webinar, but the email is also including the guide for beneficiary and also this frequently asked question presentation. In any case, if you have any problems, you can contact us, and at the end of this presentation I'm going to provide you the 2 most important emails that you can use to contact us. So let's start with the question. So question number 1. Is there any time limitation for justifying an EPO and an IP attorney fee after an SME has been selected for support under the IPA4SME? Yes, there is a time frame. The time frame regards all the 3 services. So, as regard to service 1, also called the IP pre-diagnostic service, please keep in mind that the service must be completed within 4 months. Instead, as regarded to Service 2 and Service 3, which are the two co-financing services that we offered within this program, beneficiary must activate the support service within 4 months of the date of communication of the award. Again, being awarded doesn't mean that the service is activated. To activate the service, you must provide us an invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment. So, for all the beneficiaries of cutoff 6, the communication of award was sent the last 8th of October. So, from this date, you will have 4 months to activate the co-financing service. Once activate the service, you will have until the end of the IPA4SME project, which is the 31 December 2021, to provide us documentation to claim a second request for reimbursement. The documentation that you have to provide us in case you are interested to receive a second request of reimbursement is documentation that must be associated to the same patent application for which you received the first reimbursement. If a beneficiary is not able to activate the service award within 4 months, the support will be cancelled. Please keep in mind that in case we are going to automatically cancel your service, this does not mean that you cannot reapply again during the next cutoff call. Furthermore, please keep in mind that in the event that your beneficiary has been awarded with both Service 2 and Service 3 during the same cutoff call, the activation of either of the support service will automatically extend the time for the activation of the missing service by an additional 4 months. So the service activation extension is only valid for the beneficiary who has been awarded with both Service 2 and Service 3. Again, sorry if I am really repetitive, but I prefer like this. A simple example, I am the Gadadio company being awarded with both Service 2 and Service 3 during the cutoff call 6, which means that I received a communication of award, communication email of award the last October 8th. From this date, I will have 4 months to activate one of the two service, Service 2 or Service 3. Service 2 or Service 3. So I will have until the 8th of February to provide through EMS valid documentation. In case I will be able to activate, for example, Service 2, I will have automatically until the end of the program, which means the 31 December 2021, to provide to the coordination center with documentation for claim a second payment request within Service 2, but additionally I will have additional 4 months to activate the missing service that in this example will be Service 3. So I will have until the 8th of June to provide to the coordination center pro EMS documentation, valid documentation to activate Service 3. Question number 2. I'm already working with an IP patent attorney. Are her costs reimbursable? So, as regard to this question, first of all, please keep in mind that for all the beneficiaries who received, who has been awarded with the IP pre-diagnostic service, the IP pre-diagnostic service can be completed only through one of the experts assigned to you. Instead, as regard to Service 2 and Service 3, you are free to select the expert that you wish. The only important thing is that the the patent attorney, this is really important, especially for the beneficiary who want to benefit from service free, that to be eligible, the invoice must be issued by a patent attorney who is a professional entitled to act before the EPO. A list of the eligible IP attorney working before EPO can be found in the following link. The link, you can find this link in this guide for in this presentation, but also at page 19 of the guide for beneficiary. Both documentation, which means both presentation and the guide for beneficiary, we will provide you later on of this webinar. But again, especially for service 3, the invoice is eligible only if it was issued by an IPA patent attorney who is a professional entitled to act before the EPO. Question number 3. Are all the types of patents eligible to be subject of IPA4SME support? So it's really important that all the beneficiaries understand that our support exclusively covers European patent registration process, which for the purpose of this program is defined as filing an application from a patent before the EPO, covering more than 2 European member states. Therefore, all the invoices related to professional authorized or official fee regarding registration in countries such as, for example, USA, China, or countries that are not European country, these invoices are automatically disqualified because, again, our support exclusively covers European patent registration process. Furthermore, please keep in mind that within this program, together with EPO patent application, we can also consider eligible PCT patent application, which must be registered to EPO. So again, we are going to consider valid EPO patent application, but we can also consider eligible PCT patent application. But to be eligible the PCT patent application, the registration must be done through the EPO. So question number 4. What if a service tree beneficiary SME does not have an EPO patent application number yet? So can be happen that a beneficiary doesn't receive yet the EPO patent application number. If it's your case, it's not a problem. In this case, to qualify your reimbursement, what we must collect from you is just an invoice including the following information that are the name of the patent attorney who provides you the legal service, that again must be a person entitled to act before the EPO, and the invoice must also include information about the title of the invention or the IP being protected. This information will be enough for us. Question number 5. Is there any specific order for service implementation? In other words, if I awarded with service 1, service 2, and or service 3, do SMEs have to wait until the end of the EP pre-diagnostic service is finished to start benefiting from partial reimbursement? As I tried to explain at the beginning of this webinar, but maybe you was facing problem with the audio, please keep in mind that beneficiary is not forced to follow any particular order in completing the service. So this means that SME can make use of all the services awarded in parallel, or you can also decide to benefit from the services one by one. So again, it's not a mandatory, there is not a mandatory order for the implementation of the service. You are free to benefit from the service whenever. And again, please keep in mind that the services, one, must be completed within 4 months. Instead, service 2, service 2 and 3, you must activate one of the 2 services within 4 months. However, what I personally recommended, especially for the beneficiary who has been awarded with service 1, is that I strongly recommended to plan a meeting with the assigned expert as soon as possible, because the scope of the IP pre-diagnostic is to provide you a clear overview of your current situation, but also advice regarding the opportunities and the limitation to foster the benefit of your IP and exploit the advantage related to it. This information may be really useful for you, but not essential, sure. Also to decide if is the case to proceed with service 2 and service 3. So again, please keep in mind that there is not a mandatory order for the implementation of the service. We are free to benefit from the services in parallel or complete the service one by one. Question number 6, what is service activation? Service activation, first of all, is important for the beneficiary who has been awarded with service 2 and 3. So service activation means that being awarded with service 2 and service 3 does not mean that the service is activate. Activate the service means to provide us through the EMS portal valid documentation. And valid documentation consists of an invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment. This documentation must meet all the requirements included in the guide for beneficiaries. Then question number 7, I think we can skip this question. Because the question is regarding where the beneficiary can collect the guide for beneficiary. We can skip this question because I said before, at the end of this presentation, we're going to send you an email, and this email is going to include also the guide for beneficiary. The only recommendation that I want to give you is to carefully read the guide for beneficiary, because this is the only way to clearly understand what you have to provide, and also all the requirements that the documentation have to include in order to receive the reimbursement. Then question number 8, is VAT subject for reimbursement? No, VAT costs are not taken into account for the reimbursement calculation. So please keep in mind that we are not going to consider the VAT cost in the reimbursement process. Then this is more than a question, it's a suggestion that I wanted to give you, because personally I think that more than service 2, what is more easier to activate is service 3, because service 3 is regarding is a service that, as I explained to you before, is a service aimed at covering the cost for hiring a IP patent attorney. So between these 2 services, I think it's more easy to activate service 3 rather than service 2. So what I can suggest you is that in the event that you are late with the activation of the service, which means that, for example, of February, you don't have an invoice yet, what I can suggest you is to ask to your patent attorney for an initial invoice, including, let's say, for example, a lump sum of euro 100. This is at the end an agreement that you have to find with your patent attorney. And this cost, let's say, that are related to a professional authorize. The scope of this invoice will be just to activate service 3. Because, as I tried to explain you different time, once the service is activated, you will have until the end of 2021 to provide us with documentation for a second payment request as regard to service 3. But in case you have been awarded also with service 2, you will be automatically benefit from an extension of 4 additional months for activate service 2. So again, this is one of the suggestions that I would like to give you. Again, because usually what's happened is that the patent attorney usually provide only one invoice to the beneficiary when all the registration process is completed. However, usually the registration process takes more than 2, 3, 4 months, and in a lot of cases could be a long process. So maybe the beneficiary will not have the time to receive the invoice within the 4 months. And as I said before, if you don't provide us documentation without 4 months, you are going to be automatically disqualified. So to don't lose your chance to benefit from the support services offered within this service, my suggestion is to ask to your patent attorney for an initial invoice, including just a lump sum of euro 100, 200, as you wish, relating to professional authorize. Like, for example, we can say like professional authorize, such as a preliminary study of the patent. This invoice will serve you to activate service 3. As I explained you before, once you activated the service, you will be automatically have until the end of 2021 to provide us with documentation for a second payment request. So you will have at least 1 year to complete all the registration process, and so you will have 1 year to collect a second invoice regarding the completion of the registration process. So once activated, you can complete without being a hurry the registration process and provide us documentation regard to claim a second payment request. Furthermore, in case you have been awarded together with service 2, the activation of service 3, as I explained you before, will be automatically extended with additional 4 months the timeline for activate service 2. Why I say that is more easy service activate service 3 rather than service 2 is because service 2 is regarding only the IPO official fee. So you must complete the registration process before to pay the IPO fee. Instead, in service 3, since is regarding the cost for earning an happy patent attorney, is more easy to receive an initial invoice, including, as I said before, cost as, for example, preliminary study of the patent. So, in case you need help with the application process, but also if you need more information regarding how to benefit from IPA4SME support service, please keep in mind that the Coordination Center has put at the disposal of the potential applicants or beneficiary the following email accounts. So you can contact us through course@IPA4SME.eu, or you can contact us through helpdesk@IPA4SME.eu. You can use both of the two emails in order to contact us, in order to receive information about not only the application process, but also information in order to benefit from the three support services that we offer within this program. Please keep in mind that usually once you receive your email, usually the beneficiaries are going to receive an answer within 48 hours, but this strongly depends on the number of the mail we receive. It can happen sometimes that we receive a dozen of email during the same day, so maybe we will not be able to answer you within 24 or 48 hours. So maybe this is the case that we will need to wait 3-4 days before to receive an answer. But again, please keep in mind that we are trying to do our best to provide the best to. And to do this, what we can do is to organize webinars, different webinars, but also try to answer to all the questions that you have. And again, please keep in mind that you can contact us using one of the two following emails: calls@IPA4SME.eu, but also helpdesk@IPA4SME.eu. Please follow us on one of the following channels. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, but also LinkedIn. The consortium is composed by CARSA, Universidad de Alicante, and GOPA.com. And thank you very much to follow me. I'm now moving to your question. Just give me the time to move on it. Again, as Rasami tried to explain you at the beginning of this webinar, please keep in mind that I'm trying to answer to all the questions that I received. But in case I will notice that one of the questions needs a short explanation, I'm going to answer you privately by email. One second, please. Rasami, the audio is fine, I hope. Yep. Please confirm me.
Yep.
As always. Okay,
Yes,
great.
it's fine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, let's move to your question. Again, I'm so sorry for the problem we faced with the sounds. So, question number 1 from Martin Bergers. I'm sorry if sometimes I'm wrong your surname or name, but okay. First question. During the introduction webinar, I was informed I can apply for as many service 3 reimbursement and 2 service 2 reimbursement. From the portal, it is implied I can only invoke 2 reimbursements. Also, This is not true, Mr. Bergers. So within IPA4SME program, you can apply for as many times as you want to receive service 3. Instead, as regard to service 2, you can receive reimbursement for a total of 5 different patent applications. So again, I will repeat this. Within service 3, you can receive reimbursement for all the patent application process that you have in pipeline. As regard to service 2, you can receive financial support for a maximum of 5 different patent applications. Then let's talk about only one patent. So you apply one time during, for example, this cutoff call. You has been selected, so you received a communication of award the last 8th of October. Since you have been selected one time, this means that you can provide us documentation regarding only one single patent application. And you can provide us invoices or an invoice or more than one invoices regarding the professional fee, or you can provide us an invoice regarding the official fee. So professional fee are costs within service 3 because our costs regarding the cost for hiring an IP patent attorney. Instead, official fee are costs regarding EPO official fee. So again, you can provide us an invoice including professional fee within service 3 or an invoice including official fee within service 2. In case we validated your documentation, you will have until the end of 2021 for provide us documentation in order to receive a second payment request. But first payment request and second payment request are always linked to the same patent application. So it's true that there is a limitation, but the limitation is regarding the 2 payment requests associated to the same patent application. Please don't confuse patent application with payment request. So again, for service 3, you can receive financial support for infinitive patent application. Within service 2, you can receive financial support to a maximum of 5 different patent applications. Then for each patent application, you can request 2 payment requests. I hope it is clear now. Then question from to Miss Coralie Dumas. I'm sorry that you have some problems at the beginning of the webinar with the audio. Then again from question from Martin Belgers. For service 3, are costs made from filling an IP patent via the PCT route also covered? So Mr. Belgers, within service 3, we can cover the cost for hiring an IP patent attorney, with the purpose of filing a EPO patent application, but also we are going to cover the cost for hiring an IP patent attorney in charge for filing a PCT patent application, but the registration must be done through the European Patent Office. So it's the opposite of your question. You can receive a reimbursement of a PCT patent application only if the registration or the filing is done through the European Patent Office. I think this is the last question from Pablo Sosa Dominguez. If I have both service 2 and 3, I can activate 3 first and automatically 2 are extended. Sure, Mr. Dominguez. As I tried to explain before, there is not a mandatory process to activate the services, which means that if you are being awarded with both service 2, service 3, you are free to activate service 3 before service 2. This is the same for who has benefit from service 1 together with the 2 co-financing service. The number of the service doesn't mean that this is the order in which you have to complete the service. It's just a number that would differentiate the different services. So, for example, if you have a company that benefit with all the 3 support action of this program, maybe the beneficiary can activate service 3 before completing service 1, and then in a second time can activate service 2. But again, for the beneficiary who has been received both service 2 and service 3, please keep in mind that once you activated, for example, service 3, you will have until the end of 2021 to provide us documentation for a second payment request. And this documentation must be associated to the same patent application for which you has received the first payment request, and then together with this, you will be we will automatically extend the timeline for activate service 2 with additionally 4 months. So you will have, in this case, until the 8th of June 2021 to provide us documentation for activate service 2. But again, there is not a mandatory order to benefit from the service. You are free to benefit from the service in the order that you prefer. If you want to activate service 3 before service 2 and before completing service 1, feel free to do it. As I said before, it's more easy to activate service 3 rather than service 2. So feel free to activate service 3 before service 2. This was the last question. I'm sorry again for the problem we faced with the audio during the webinar. I hope that everything was clear, and again, if you are facing some problem, if you have some doubts or some uncertainties, please don't hesitate to contact us to one of the 2 emails we provide you. Again, the mail are calls@IPA4SME.eu, but also we have help desk @IPA4SME.eu. Thank you very much to follow me. I wish you a fantastic day. And thank you very much again. And thank you very much to Rasami to allow me to conduct this webinar. Have a nice day and see you. Bye.